Hey there! Do you ever feel like you're underappreciated? Like people don't give you enough credit for what you work for? Well, today I'm going to show appreciation to cards that may feel the same way. This is Sofa Plays, and welcome to another weekly Hearthstone video. Card number 5. So this card has the ability to make your opponent feel completely helpless. I've had opponents miss their turns, use big removal, or even sacrifice a fairly decent minion just to get rid of this card. And it's a really good tool for classes that may not have the silence type effects that they need. It's especially great in Demon Hunter and Rogue. The card that I am talking about is Spallin. It's a 1 mana 1/2. After it damages a minion, it turns it into a Spallin. Doesn't matter how big the minion is, it is fantastic, and it's always going to work. And I think a lot of people overlook this card. I genuinely believe this is probably one of the best 1 mana cards out there. It's just how you utilize it. Obviously, you don't play it with classes that can't deal with it, you know. So I've seen people play like Warrior, and then I'll end up like stealing this Spallin, and then they'll have no way of actually removing the Spallin I just stole. Obviously, in those kind of circumstances, you don't play it, but you play it when you can deal with it, and that's the power of it. It is an exceptional card, and I really think people should give it a chance a bit more. So card number 4. So this card actually has the potential to be great, and it is really overlooked even when people have the correct type of deck for it. And I personally believe it could be game changing sometimes. It can give you a bigger board presence, it can give you lethal. It has great synergy with certain cards. The card that I'm talking about is Wicked Whispers. Discard your lowest cost cards, give minions on your board +1/+1. As you know, at the moment, Warlock actually has quite a few eggs, like egg synergy, so that's really interesting. Also, I know it is a worse version of Mark of the Lotus, but it's still a really good card overall. Like, it discards your lowest cost cards, so you can actually you can control it, you know. And Warlock at the moment has actually been nerfed to the ground right now. And I feel like this card really works in decks that have kind of like a zoo archetype. And when you're getting offered lots and lots of bad cards, that tends to be the type of deck you end up with. So this card could actually push you into the favor of having at least 1 or 2 more wins, which can be really important. So yeah, this card is not as bad as it looks. It's definitely playable, and you can squeeze some wins with this card, absolutely. So card number 3, and I'm gonna go straight into it, is Morg Artificer. Now this card has a very big history of people going nope, and I can see why. Like, if your opponent has AoE or a removal spell, it probably does look pretty off-putting, and people have probably been ruined by this card. But I've had more positive experiences with this card than I have negatives, and let me explain. So there is 2 kind of ways to play with this card. So the first way to play with it is in the early game. So you play it on turn 2, and you just have a 2 mana 2/4. And what this does is it counters your opponent's boards very efficiently, and it doesn't deal 3 damage to your face like certain cards, so that's a bonus. Yeah, so it's a great early game tool to use, and if it sticks on board, you can end up using your spells to remove your opponent's bigger minions, because at the end of the day, they're not always going to have the answers, despite what everybody says. Not everybody has the answer, okay? Or the other alternative is you have it in your hands, you keep it for a bit, and then if your opponent ends up with a fairly decent board, and you think, oh gosh, how do I deal with this? You basically just play Mawag, you play whatever AoE you have, if you have AoE of course, and GG. And a lot of the AoE effects we have right now deal AoE to everything, right? So you'll end up killing the Moarg off, and you won't have the fear of your opponent potentially doing the same thing back to you. I think it's really exceptional, and it's really a shame we don't see it more often. So card number 2. So this card has dealt through the ages. It's always been a really good card, but I don't think many people have seen it for what it is. And I believe this card's actually only gotten better. The card I am talking about is Crazed Alchemist. Now, Crazed Alchemist is a 2/2 for 2 mana that swaps the attack and health of a minion. It makes trading into beefy minions an absolute dream. Say there's a 4/10 taunt, you swap the attack and health, and then you don't need 10 damage anymore. You just need 4 damage to get rid of it. It's just so handy. And it's a great combination with rush cards as well, because as we know, rush cards are everywhere. So you could swap the attack of health or something, you could use the rush card to clear it, and it's great. And in some cases it could even be GG if you're able to remove a really big minion. Also, another thing, you can also use this card to prolong some of your minions on board. So say, for example, your 5/6 minion has lost, I don't know, 3 health. There's only a 5/3 now. You can use it to swap the attack of health to make it a 3/5. So you can make that card last longer. Not only that as well, if your minion has a low attack and really high health, you could swap the attack and health to actually set up lethal. So there are so many different ways to use this card, and I love it, especially in a high health meta. Like, this card is only been beneficial to me, and I believe it deserves a lot more credit. Okay, so I may have lied to you guys, and I apologize. I said I was only going to mention 5 cards, but let's go through some honorable mentions before we get to card number 1. So the first cards we're going to look at really quickly is Backfire. It's a 3 mana card, deal 3 damage to your face, draw 3 cards. Exceptional because rather than tapping, you can use this card. It deals 3 less damage to your face, and it costs 3 less mana. Absolute bonus. Next card we have is Trick Totem. Always seen as a meme card, but if you can put Trick Totem on board on turn 2 and it ends up buffing your minion, or it gives you some extra minions, or you even end up with a secret, absolute value. The card is much better than people perceive it to be. Next card we have is Safety Inspector. 1 mana, 1/3. Shuffle the lowest cost card in your deck. Draw a card. Now, you do have the potential to draw the same card you just put into your deck, but I think it's really great to draw within a late game, because if you're looking for your big minions, you can actually play this and then hope it draws one of your bigger cards to develop a stronger board. So I think Safety Inspector is actually much better than giving credit. I think people just misplay with it a lot. Next card we have is Fell Reaver, 5 mana, 8/8. Every time your opponent plays a card, it discards 3 cards. Really great for the aggro type decks. You just chuck it on turn 5, you smack the opponent's face a few times and hope you win. Obviously, it doesn't always work out so great if your opponent has hard removal, but overall, it is a pretty solid card. And then the last honorable mention is Ironbeak Owl. Great card for classes that may not have hard removal, who can't deal with big cards like Demon Hunter, and gives you great potential to get to the face. So card number 1. So this card is severely underrated. Cat. This card is something that multi-leaderboard players like Judge and Veritas absolutely rave about. They think this card is exceptional, and honestly, I'm on boards. Probably not as much as them, because I probably don't play with it as well as I should, and it is a very easy card to misplay with. But the card that I'm talking about is Replecatron. I can't say that name. It's a 4 mana 3/3. Transform a random adjacent minion to basically to a Reflectatron, so basically the same cards. And what's really cool about this card is if you have like a really small deck, it can transform one of your smaller minions into that card. And also what's really cool as well is if you buff that card, it will give a buff to that minion. Now, what makes this card much better than it perceives to be is the fact that it goes in order in which you play it. So if you put the Reflectatron to the left of the card that you're looking to change into it, that card you played, the first Reflectatron that you've played first, will always transform a card first. And that's what makes it really cool. Because, for example, if you chuck one down and then you value trade with the second Reflectatron to something, and then you make sure the first one you played didn't get damaged, it can actually heal that minion back up. Do you see what I mean? So you can actually value trade really well with this card, and there are just like so many different benefits to it, like buffing your boards, I don't know, just sticky board presence overall. It's much better than people give it credit for. And it also has a very cute opening line, so I don't know what more you'd want from a cards. I don't really know how much to rave it. Obviously in certain classes it may not be amazing, but I think with like Druid, Paladin, Shaman, any classes that have some form of buff or like lots of small minions, I think it'll be a really really great asset to your deck. Anyway, this was Sofa Plays. I hope you enjoyed my list. Please let me know in the comments below if there are any cards you agree or disagree with, or if there are any cards you think should have made this list too. Also, if you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe. I will be doing a Hearthstone Arena video every Monday. So please stay tuned. Have a good one all. Bye.